Yeah, believe it or not, what you're looking at is a video about characters' chests that isn't focusing on the female ones from Xenoblade 2, but in fact, male ones from the entire series. The only reason I titled it that was because I'm pretty sure putting nipple in the title of a video would be instant demonetization, because I did that with naked once and the video was permanently demonetized, and I kinda don't want to risk that again. But believe it or not, this video, yes, it's a joke, but it does require spoilers through Chapter 5 of Xenoblade X and Chapter 6 of Xenoblade 2, because why not complicate things? But yes, we're talking about the very strange nature of nipples on characters in the Xenoblade series, because every game so far besides Torna has allowed you to put the characters in swimsuits and all the male ones go topless, so you actually see their bare chests. First off, in Xenoblade 1, the three Homs characters you get, Shulk, Rhine, and Dunban, they do not have any visible nipples, even though they do have a different build in general, and their bodies all seem to have been modeled separately. It was probably just a resolution thing, where changing the texture in a small area in 480p just isn't worth it. Or maybe Homs just don't have nipples for some reason. Ricky is kind of almost always bare-chested anyway, and you can't really tell anything on him because he's way too fuzzy and furry and stuff, so there's no way of telling. He's kind of got the Schrodinger nips going on. Moving on to X though, and we run into a couple interesting things. First off, pretty much all of the humanoid NPCs were designed from the same template, taking the base system used to design your avatar and then tweaking it with certain things that can't be used by the player in order to make more distinguished NPCs. So the main difference for the most part is the head. And if you look at three different male characters from X with their shirts off, you'll see their bodies are exactly the same, just proportioned for the character height. And in L's case, his skin is tinted blue, which is a shade that you can actually use for your skin of your avatar if you so choose. So yeah, there you go. But there you have it. All of the characters, because they all use the same model, just altered, do have visible nipples. It's presumed that this is because most of the characters are mibiosomes, and those are designed to replicate the human body as much as possible. While one side quest heavily implies that that means they can't get pregnant because they're robots, it would make sense for them to have an obvious visual organ present on the outside of their body, because, you know, you can kind of feel artificial if you don't have that, assuming you were born with them. Moving on to 2, though, is the most interesting case, because we've got instances of characters of the same race both having and not having them. In the swimsuit update, you get topless swimsuits for multiple characters. Tora wears a shirt, but he's also a Nopon, so whatever. But Rex visibly doesn't have nipples, while Zeke visibly does. This could just be a weird stylistic thing where because Rex is younger, he doesn't have them, and Zeke is an older manly man or something, or because Rex's would be so small they didn't feel like modeling them, or they just didn't feel like modeling them or forgot to in general. I don't know, this is the weird thing, and it doesn't make a lot of sense unless Tantalese somehow genetically evolved away from Letherians or something, and, like, maybe they became vestigial on males from certain parts of the world and eventually just stopped showing up, whereas for the Tantalese, who kind of kept in the same breeding population, that thing never went around, and there could be a weird genetic thing in there, or it could just be a stylistic choice. But it's also worth noting that you could see multiple blades that also aren't wearing shirts, and none of them have nipples, which makes a lot of sense because they're blades, they don't reproduce sexually, so there's no reason for blades of any sex to have them in the first place, and they kind of don't have sexes at all anyway. So yeah, that brings the question of why some have boobs when there's no nipple on them, but that's a question for another video that will probably get me demonetized no matter what I do, so I'll probably never make it. But I don't know why I thought of this. D&D Melia this weekend, yeah, and until then, this is Luxin signing off and kind of terrified at myself.